your names and I. I'm going to pass this whole thing.
In Mumbai, a stately two-story mansion that had served as Gandhi's Bombay headquarters for many years and which was converted in 1955 into a museum. The photograph showed objects that were used by Gandhi, belonged to him, but they were subsequently presented to a wealthy devotee, Sumati Murati, who in turn donated these objects to the museum of which he was a patron. Here is what Kashi himself says about his encounter with these objects. Bapu, aka Mahatma Gandhi, was the most important person in recent times. He changed the way we think and define our personal and public lives. For my generation, who are far away from him in time, everything he touched was memorialized, museumized, and frozen in time. 3 museums, Manipal Museum in New Delhi, showcase objects he used and images of his life. They are at once a reminder of a great life lived and a marker of an alienating process by which Gandhi is kept away neatly in boxes, sealed forever. The artist then gives us exquisite renderings of these objects whose photographs he had seen in the museum, and I'm going to quickly flip through the pages here for you so you get a slight sense of the flavor of what he has accomplished in this piece of cloth, his dentures, and so on. And I want to end by quoting again from the artist. The range of objects kept in this range from his books to cups and utensils he used to his denture. Like microscope or lab equipment, to pens, to pieces on him, it also reveals a trend to capture him in objects and forget the spirit of his life and words. A fetish for objects substituting the actual person. But in the way he is reinvented, it is amply clear that he touched our lives in more ways than one can imagine. Even as the work reveals Kashi's fascination with such objects, which became the focus of such exquisite artistic contemplation, he also proposes that rather than making a fetish of these objects that Gandhi had touched, let us all gather together as we are doing this evening in Bengaluru to reflect on the way his life touched us. Over the decades, especially since Gandhi's death, artists of India have been drawn repeatedly to the minimalist Gandhi and his sparse possessions, which have emerged in their works as objects of great beauty and aesthetic value. Gandhi himself used to refer to non-possession, which he also described as a near impossible idea, but was also a cardinal virtue, based not on the multiplication but on the deliberate and voluntary reduction of wants. Yet even as the minimalist Gandhi relied upon a handful of objects, but even he could not fail to shed these completely. The force of visual culture that has emerged around him, especially since his violent assassination in January 1948, has turned or deemed deserving of being in art, as in the Gandhian artist Hapu Shah's Gandhi and Descendants. Noted New Delhi-based artist Gandhi's favorite text, as you know, just Charita, this failure. The words inscribed in English on a treasure hunt to search for the objects that had been close to the Mahatma. His spectacles and their case, The work seems to suggest we are good at business in a most un-Gandhian manner, even leading a life of violence in its name. The embodied presence of Gandhi, thus, these works are actually true to the Mahatma's own aspiration to be a collaborator in this regard by disappearing his visible body from their canvases or installations and turning the acts that I am calling the art of art. The postcards for Gandhi project was based on Mahatma Gandhi's famous practice. Sundaram, Ram Rahman and Shamshad Hussain invited 100 artists from across postcard-sized works that reflected their understanding of Gandhi's political leadership, and to which the artists in the project turned again and again to Gandhi's philosophy and relevance. Repeatedly across close to these 600 works, recourse was made to a handful of these. His footwear, his statuette of the three monkeys signifying speak no evil, his walking stick, and not least his spinning wheel. Resurface as proxies for his presence. And what should we make these humble objects have taken interesting aesthetic afterlives, undoubtedly far in excess of what was intended for them in the life work of Gandhi. For instance, consider the humble bamboo staff, and I think I heard Professor Nair already talk briefly about this danda that Gandhi held, right? And that we so associate with Gandhian iconography. The figure of the striding Mahatma, staff in hand, I don't have to tell you, this is ubiquitous in the Indian urban landscape and even abroad, to the point of having become a visual cliché. Gandhi likely took up this when he shed his bourgeois sartorial wardrobe of the past 20 years to don the clothing of a humble indentured laborer in colonial South Africa as an act of mourning, in his own words. It was not until about 15 years later, from the time of the Salt March, that you spoke, that the staff became a regular accessory. On the morning of March 12, 18, to set out on his historic march to the sea with all his worldly possessions in 2 bags hanging from his shoulders, one of his followers, Kaka Kaliyakal, reportedly presented him with one such staff, 54 inches long and 1 inch wide, made out of lacquer bamboo. At the time of Motilal Bose's iconic images of the Salt March, while his 2 shoulder bags all but disappear, Gandhi is routinely painted with the staff in hand. In some cases, as in Amit Ambala's beautiful watercolor for his Sehmat project, the Mahatma is only partially present, but no visually literate viewer in India would be confused about the bony hand wrapped around the staff. In Vadodara-based Balaji Punna's work titled He Relaxed It and It Upturned, the work celebrates the labor of walking performed by Gandhi over his political lifetime, literally moving with his body across the map of India, which he traversed from one end to the other on his bony legs and sandal-clad feet. The Mahatma once again is absent in the work, but his staff, converted into an elegant walking stick, makes a neat appearance. In the enigmatic work titled Eraser Pro, while the rest of Gandhi's body is sculpted in a state of disintegration, the staff, sheathed in bronze, stands whole and unbroken. Sculpture by erasing life-size statues of Gandhi that are routinely mass-produced surface. That he leaves the staff intact in doing so is a revealing reminder of the importance of this accessory for rendering Gandhi visually and visible. Even while the artist pays homage, perhaps unintentionally, in the hands of one of India's most expensive and celebrated artists, Subodh Gupta, Gandhi's humble bamboo reed item. Gupta also stated it was perhaps the only art object that Gandhi placed among his poetry possessions. In this arresting and uncertain Doha in Qatar. Similarly, Ahmedabad artist Ratilal Kansodaria in this evocative sculpture celebrates the Mahatma's spectacles by also tethering it to a famed marble screen in the city's Siddi Said Mosque. This is now also a collector's item in some collectors' hands in Spain. Arguably, the most remarkable and unexpected aesthetic journeys within this complex of the art of Aparigraha are undertaken by Gandhi's footwear. And I wanted to talk about this in order also to connect this presentation with Professor Nair's wonderful talk. Although he frequently took trains, buses, cars, and ships to get his message out and his work done, and has been photographed and painted doing so, walking the green, as Professor Nair reminded us, Gandhi enabling a lifetime of fitness and frugality. Alongside, of course, Swaraj, quote, God set a limit to man's locomotive ambitions in the rule is do not ride if you can walk. Although in this most iconic of images by, in sandals, handmade sandals, many of which he himself crafted. And I like the work and it is essential too. I've only made about 15 pairs. When you need new ones, please send me the measurement, the big toe and the little one. End quote. A drawing, the earliest we know of in the adult Gandhi's hands, which unfortunately appears to have not survived in the archives, accompanied these instructions that he sent to his nephew. Gandhi also possessed wooden footwear in the style habitually favored by subcontinent. Eyewitness reports suggest that he wore these typically in domestic contexts. In my research so far, one grainy photograph taken soon after he formally adopted his famed loincloth in Madurai in September 1921, in which he appears wearing these cloths, and I hope you can see them in this grainy photograph. This photograph has also had an interesting afterlife. It keeps reappearing in calendar art images as well as in gallery paintings. In some artworks produced in his own lifetime, I hope you can catch this in the projection, in the Swiss artist Frida Haus, a pair of these kadao or karogs is also painted delicately on the mat next to the Mahatma's prone figure on the cot in Vinayak Masuji's painting, The Midnight Arrest. Over the years, though, as we will see, as with so many other possessions of the Mahatma, these wooden clogs have also taken on an interesting aesthetic afterlife when they come to be disassociated from him and assume a trajectory of independence. In this work by Surendra Nair, one of these objects, as you can see, is pierced with nails, hinting at the martyrdom of his body. Iranna's work called Cuffed Object, a single pair of these wooden clogs is cuffs. A man who is willing, even cheerfully, to be thrown into prison in exchange for standing up for his principles. Mahatma. In New Delhi-based Arpana Kaur's terracotta relief, a single pair of these clogs presents the absent Mahatma, a barbed wire stretched stretched across them, invoking the bloody Ratcliffe line that divided up British India, even as it provides a melancholic rejoinder to Gandhi's statement that partition would happen over his dead body. Although the photographic evidence confirms that most often Gandhi wore handmade sandals in public, his saintly status, especially in the aftermath of the assassination, has made these clogs ubiquitous in the visual culture that has emerged around the Mahatma, even while providing material and visual sustenance to Nehru's much quoted words. Quote, where he sat was a temple, where he walked was hallowed ground. End quote. In his own lifetime, when his follower Prema Kantak sought his permission to hold on to a pair of these precious clogs, Gandhi wrote a chastising letter condemning her actions as smacking of idolatry. Such a reprimand has not stopped their enshrinement or the display of his handmade sandals in the regimes of memorializing the Mahatma since 1948 in the various Gandhi memorial museums scattered across India. There is the paradoxical fact of the hyper-vegetarian Gandhi working with his bare hands on dead animal hide and his almost obsessive desire to become an expert tanner. Tannery itself was critical to Gandhi's constructor work agenda that he carried out across India's villages. And at his ashrams in Sabarmati and Sevagram as well, he opened tannery sections. On the one hand, of course, such work being habitually confined to the lowest of the low untouchables, indeed even indelibly defining their subjecthood in the eyes of the so-called touchables, as scholar Gopal powerfully put, this gave the Mahatma one more opportunity to disobey some norms of the caste system in his project of getting his fellow caste Hindus to overcome India's original sin of untouchability. No wonder then that the humble sender has attracted the eye of the artist and become an object of visual and aesthetic contemplation in numerous works across many media. By virtue of the fact that they had touched his feet and had protected them as he performed his labor of walking on behalf of the self and nation, the humble sandal is transformed within the art of aparigraha into an artifact that invites melancholic marvel. So, with this, and in conclusion, I take us back to Kashi's book with which I began, whose opening pages also include a sketch of the humble sandal as well as of his kadao or wooden clogs. And I end by reflecting very briefly upon the sensory experience provoked by touch, as also proposed by the title of Kashi's work, which also reminds us of Gandhi's complex experiments with repudiating untouchability and the critiques that have followed in their wake. There is also the fact that these humble objects that he once used are imagined to bear the imprint of his touch. But once they enter the museum space, they get sealed off in glass vitrines or placed behind showcases, and they become untouchable. They are to be seen rather than to be held and felt. Hence also the longing of the artist for the Mahatma's touch and his call for liberating us from the fetish of the objects through which Gandhi as figure and person has been captured and sealed up, out of reach, out of sight, and hence also out of touch. Events like this and occasions like Gandhi's birth anniversary are a precious reminder to recall a man who lived for the nation for which he ultimately also sacrificed himself. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if Professor Sumiti can hear us, but Professor Sumati, thank you so much for walking us through the artistic afterlife of Gandhi. And it's also important for us to think during these times how to bring Gandhi to contemporary India and break this cycle of museumization of Gandhi. So it's a really insightful address. Thank you so much once again. Friends, with that, we come to a close of the event today to mark the 155th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Uh, I'd like to thank once again NGMA for giving us this opportunity, but there are many, many more people to thank and many other things to tell you on the concluding note. So I'd like to invite Professor Rajendran Narayanan from Azim Premji University to give us the concluding remarks.
Thank you. Uh, I think I'll start with there's a quote by a famous there's a famous quote by a journalist called Sidney Harris, and he had said, "What is the difference between a patriot and a nationalist?" And and I quote, he said, "A patriot is someone who is proud of his nation for what he does, what it does, and a nationalist is someone who is proud of his nation no matter what it does." And the distinction is very fundamental in the way we think of Gandhi and when we reflect on Gandhi's work and his actions, as both our speakers have been talking about today. It's Gandhi was a patriot. And I think we need to remember that as we leave this space today. And no matter how much we research, debate, think, we will never be able to fully understand and comprehend the many layers and complexity of Gandhi's personality. When he was put on sedition trial by the British, the judge who was actually going to charge him on sedition said, and I quote the judge, "The law is no respecter of persons. Nevertheless, it will be impossible to ignore the fact that you are in a different category from any person I have ever tried or am likely to try." End quote. And I think this, a judge sitting on trial is saying this about a person who's going on a sedition trial, speaks volumes about what remarkable impression that the man had left. And one of the things we often forget is that the Gandhi of 1909, when he wrote Hind Swaraj, was a very different Gandhi from the time that Professor Janki and I talked about, which was in Noakhali and at the dawn of India's independence. It actually reflects the kind of openness he had towards experiences, openness he had to transforming oneself in this endless perennial pursuit of leading an ethical life. And it's that ethics, I think, which is very central to how we imagine us today, how we need to imagine our country and our society. He was truly an embodiment of what we call the personal is political. And one of the important common threads that we see in throughout Gandhi's journey, whether it is reflected through the beautiful artifact journey that we saw in Professor Sumati Ramaswamy's talk, or the kind of spaces and places that Gandhi walked, as we learned from Professor Janki Nair's talk, is that throughout his life, the one common thing was his steadfast commitment in standing up for injustice and standing with those who are marginalized, disenfranchised, and powerless. He gave us a completely new grammar of resistance and instilled in us the belief that everyone can do their own part to resist and fight for injustice. And it starts from something as simple as making salt to compiling 8,000 or over 8,000 grievances when he was in Champaran during his first famous satyagraha in India. It takes real monumental courage to lead this kind of pursuit of ethics, and he truly walked the talk when he said that be the change you wish the world to be. And as George Orwell, the famous writer, he said, which could be attributed to Gandhi very easily, is that he led his life believing that telling the truth is a revolutionary act. One could disagree with his strategy and even his controversial stance on many issues. And throughout his lifetime, he faced immense opposition from well meaning and towering figures, including but not limited to Ambedkar, Jinnah, Tagore, and even his close friend and confidant C. Rajagopalachari, whom we call as Rajaji. And yet, what stands out is that there is so much to learn and imbibe from the extraordinary life he led. And because of the kind of life he led, in spite of so much disagreement from so many quarters, one is reminded of these lines of a ghazal by this famous writer called Nida Fazli. And I'll say the lines first in Hindi, Urdu, Hindustani, and then I'll try and translate in English. He said, and I quote, उसके दुश्मन है बहुत तो आदमी अच्छा होगा, वो भी मेरी ही तरह शहर में तन्हा होगा, इतना सच बोल कि होठों का तबस्सुम न बुझे, रोशनी खत्म न कर, आगे अंधेरा होगा. And what it roughly translates to is, one who has so many enemies, there must be something really good about him. He must be as, वो भी मेरी ही तरह शहर में तन्हा होगा. He must also be as lonely as I am in this city. इतना सच बोल कि होठों का तबस्सुम न बुझे. Speak so much truth that the smile from your face never fades. रोशनी खत्म न कर, आगे अंधेरा होगा. Don't ensure that the light never fades, because there is darkness ahead of us. Now I'll just go quickly to the vote of thanks. I just want to thank, there are a lot of people involved in this entire production today. So first of all, we thank NGMA for doing this event and organizing this event. So many, many thanks to National Gallery of Modern Art, Bangalore, for creating such a beautiful space and hosting all of us. This would not have been possible without the passionate commitment of the director of NGMA, Ms. Priyanka Mary Francis, who has steered the entire event. So many, many thanks to you. On behalf of all the civil society members, I can extend immense gratitude for her vision and the spirit of collaborative work. It has been a pleasure and ease to work with you. We thank the Ministry of Culture for its patronage, Mr. Shuborno Patro, HOO, for coordinating the event from NGMA. Thanks to Mr. Darshan Kumar YU, Deputy Curator, for successful execution, to Mr. Kaushik Chatterjee, Technical Assistant, and Mr. Vinay Ji for sound and mic setup. The success of any such event relies primarily among those who truly make it possible for us to congregate in such a place, and so but they are seldom seen. They are all in the backstage. So many thanks to the entire housekeeping staff who have created this kind of clean space for us to sit and enjoy this event. Many thanks to the security guards and all other staff at NGMA. We thank the Department of Kannada and Culture for supporting the event as well. The 4 groups that have jumped at the opportunity to participate here owing to their individual and collective commitment to practice the ideals enshrined in our Constitution. Special hands in alphabetical order to the 4 groups: Alternative Law Forum, Bahutva Karnataka, Dialogues for Democracy and Development, and Reclaim Constitution, for putting up such an endearing display of dolls, that too in such a short span of time. So thanks to all the groups. I would also like to thank the MC for the event today, which is Advocate Purna Ravishankar, who has steered the event despite her busy schedule. And her busy schedule includes, I'm just giving you a couple of them, which includes conducting training programs for the police and the sex workers. So thank you, Purna. And much to learn from the attention to details that she has. And finally, many thanks to our speakers, Professor Janaki Nair and Professor Sumati Ramaswamy for their thoughtful comments and reflections. And one last thing is a big triumph in being part of this event is that we were able to do without creating a new WhatsApp group. Okay? So in the spirit of what we are celebrating now, I think another world is possible. Thank you. I forgot one of the more important ones. There is refreshment downstairs, so please help yourself. Adavi, sorry, I had written them down. I'm so sorry. Thanks to Adavi for doing such a wonderful performance.
Refreshments are in the cafeteria just down there, friends.